Hello, everyone, and welcome to Café New Canadians. Café New Canadians is a virtual talk show that is brought to you by New Canadians TV network. This is where we have chats about everything that matters to immigrants, newcomers, refugees, international students in Canada, or if you're planning to move to Canada anytime soon, anything that matters to you and will help you in your journey here. For today, we will be talking with PR and communications professionals. The theme for today is Immigrants' Journey to Success, wherein we will be talking with PR and communications professionals who will be sharing their journey, their experiences, personal and professional, as well as their learnings from those experiences to share those tips with you and help you succeed in this profession as well as in your job search in general. Without further ado, my name is Shruti Dargan. I will be the moderator for this session, and I'm so pleased to welcome the panelists for today. We have 5 individuals joining us, all PR and communications or marketing and communications professionals. Gunjan, Kafil, Prashant, Teki, Elvina, Bulatova, Anjali, Rego, and Tosin, Ajogbeje. All of them will be sharing their tips and experiences. A big welcome to all of you.
Thank you, Shruti.
And before we start chatting with them, let me just remind everyone joining us, of course, you will have questions for our panelists and they'll be so happy to answer those for you. So please type them in the Zoom tab. If you're in Zoom, type them in the Q&A tab here. Or if you're joining us on YouTube, we also have, we're live streaming there as well. Then you could share your questions in the chat box. Let's get started with this session, and nothing better than starting with a round of introductions. So probably, Elvina, I see you first on my screen. Let's begin with you. A little bit about yourself. When you moved to Canada, what you have to say about the initial experience. What is it that you're doing now? If you could start with that.
Yeah, sure thing. I moved to Canada, I think overall 3 years ago in August 2019. Actually, the reality was a bit different than I expected because it doesn't matter how many preparations you do, it's always different from the reality. I moved from Russia, but originally I'm from Kazakhstan, Central Asia. I used to work and study in Kazakhstan, got my first bachelor's and master's degree there. Yeah.
All right. Prashant, I'll move to you next. Just a little bit about yourself so the audience knows you and then can probably ask you related questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shruti. Hi, everyone. Very good evening. My name is Prashant, as Shruti mentioned, and I came to Canada in 2019, just as Elvin did. I came in 2019 May, and I'm a PR professional. And since then, I'm doing good with all of these guys. Like Shruti is a good friend of mine. Gerard is a good friend of mine. So yes.
Anjali? Anjali, you're on mute.
Hi, I'm Anjali Rego. I moved to Canada in April 2019 with a 16-month-old daughter, and I was also 5 months pregnant with my next. So I did a bridging program and I worked at a PR agency after that. And now I'm working as a corporate communication specialist for a media company in Canada.
Perfect. That's a good gist. And we will be diving into those details. Gunjan.
Thank you, Shruti. Good afternoon from Vancouver. Hello, everyone. I'm Gunjan Kafil. I moved to Canada at the onset of the pandemic. So March 2020 it was. Very interesting times, I must say. It took me a while to get my footing in the job market. But since then, I've worked for a local infrastructure project. And currently, I'm a senior communications specialist at SAP Vancouver. Thank you.
Perfect. Tosin, last but not least.
Yes, so thank you for this amazing opportunity. So I would say that I moved to Canada in 2010. So pretty much through the support of my father. He had applied through the Federal Skilled Worker program at that time. And so currently I am working as a writer and content creator at the Toronto Guardian, also freelance PR and communications professional. I've worked with a couple of organizations like the Brown & Cohen PR agency, YWC Toronto, the Toronto region, Immigrant Employment Council. And so I'll say right now, it's been great so far, working under the PR umbrella.
Yeah. And as you all mentioned, some of you, or I would say most, have arrived relatively recently. Tosin, you've been here much longer. So it's a good mix of panelists that we have today who'd be able to kind of share experiences. And of course, everyone out of all of us over here, we've been through this phase of the pandemic as well, which was new to everyone, new or old over here. So let's probably begin with a little bit about your pre-arrival research, because for any person who moves to Canada, profession, employment, those are like the top goals, right? And we all do our bit of research to understand what this field looks like in a different country. So Anjali, briefly, if you could take us through, what your pre-arrival research looked like from your background and your experiences from before moving to Canada.
So I used to work as a journalist, and being a journalist, I had done all my research. It was as good as I knew what I was getting into before I moved to Canada, because it was my second experience of immigration, the first time to the UK and then to Canada. So I knew that I would have to either start all over, or I would have to take steps down, and I couldn't expect to pick up where I left off. So I was ready for that. And I was also aware that I would be asked for Canadian work experience, but I knew I had my transferable skills. So I could tell an employer how I could transfer my skills from Asia and Europe to North America. So I kind of prepared myself as to what I could say, but for me, it was also that I was visibly pregnant. Nobody would hire me then. So I did a bridging program because I didn't want to stay out of the job market for too long. Having a gap is very difficult for a woman to get back in after that. So I did the bridging program. It was definitely helpful. Thanks to the program that made an accommodation for me and allowed me to do it online before COVID, because my daughter was just 6 weeks when I started. And then I started an internship in digital marketing and social media. And I was also networking at that time. And then COVID happened. Because of COVID, I could do a lot of networking, volunteering, freelancing, getting the Canadian experience without leaving my house with a toddler and an infant. Yeah. Otherwise, it would have been difficult to leave the house or even afford childcare.
You've clearly been able to, of course, advance your career in a way and be able to kind of connect with it. But before we go there, let me quickly, Tosin, would you like to share a little bit about, because the time that you moved here, there was no sign of a pandemic. We were far, far away from it. And probably what was different at that time about the field that you see now? Yeah. Would you be able to kind of reflect a little on that?
Yes. So if I was to reflect back on my pre-arrival research, and just down back to me working in PR, I remember that there was so much commitment to even doing the research. Whether for bridging educational programs. I had spent months at home in Nigeria because I actually immigrated from Nigeria to Canada. And I was trying to find a potential school, especially a potential school that will accept transfer credits. That way I wouldn't have to take other classes or additional classes because I had taken them in Nigeria. And so with the help of a family friend, I was able to navigate finding a school. I ended up getting transfer credits from Algoma University. I got my BA in finance and economics. Well, after that journey, I ended up doing my MA in public administration. So I would say during that phase, I really wanted to, because I worked more on putting together written materials, and I really fell in love with communications and PR. And so I decided to go back to school, which was Niagara College. And that was literally and I graduated eventually, because that was during the time the pandemic pretty much set in. And I never had the chance to also do an internship, actually, I must mention, when I graduated from PR and communications after graduating from Niagara College. But one thing that I would definitely say that helped me a lot was volunteering. I would say it's a bit odd that people tend to minimize the power and the selfless action of volunteering. I volunteered for organizations such as even New Canadians. I worked at organizations like, of course, Triac, but I was able to also volunteer at Triac as well. I volunteered at organizations like Empower 2. So these were organizations that really gave me the relevant skills to succeed in PR and communications afterwards.
Prashant, I'll move to you next because I know volunteering in some ways was a part of your journey as well, but that was post arrival. Could you tell us a little bit about that and also, your pre-arrival research?
Okay, so as all boys, I was a backbencher, and when I came to Canada, I had no ideas. Like I was coming for a vacation. I told my wife that we'll go to Canada, we'll take 6 months vacation, and then we'll start searching for jobs or something like that. So she started searching.
But did that happen?
When
did that happen? Were you able to actually
that
think
did
of
not
it as a
happen for
vacation?
me. Yeah, for me it happened. Like I took a vacation for almost say like 8 months, and my wife, she started searching for jobs like after 4 months. Like we did take like 3 months of vacation when we came, and I had no idea like what I'm supposed to do, what I'm not supposed to do. The only things that I searched while I was coming was like how to get a SIM card, how to get your driver's license, because my main aim was to come to Canada to drive good cars. And I told my wife that I'll get into a blue collar job because now I'm done. Because back in my country, I was in public sector and I had enough. Like it was more than what I could expect. So I came for a relaxing thing. Then COVID happened. Then everything went haywire. Then I had to search for things. Then I volunteered, as you know. So I also worked with New Canadians, and I was happy to be a part of the team. And I still consider myself as a part of this team. And at that time, I recognized that digital marketing is something that is booming, and that's a big part of communications. So I started researching things which can help me with that. So I did a course from University of Toronto so that I can show that I have a Canadian experience, because Canadian experience is something that everybody is looking forward to. Like whenever you're going for a job search, the first thing is you need Canadian experience. Even if it's for a entry-level job, even then they ask experience. I don't know why, but yeah, that's the thing. So I got into that university. I did my course. Then slowly I started working like freelance for some companies. I worked with a fertilizer company. I helped them with their digital growth. I helped them with their website and everything like that. And slowly and gradually, I find Skills Ontario. So currently, I'm working as an outreach communications manager at Skills Ontario. Sorry. So this is similar to what I was doing back in my country. So I was back in my country. I was a PRO for a Ministry of Skill Development. Here in Canada, I got similar roles. So I was quite happy, because here we work on public policies, and we also work on promoting the skilled trades. And if anyone knows, like I'm a communications guy, but I'll still say that skilled trades are better. But at the same time, because of the COVID, everything is clear that everything is getting digitized. So communications and digital marketing is the next big thing. Yeah.
You packed in so much in that one answer.
Oh.
Elvina, so this is a question for both Elvina and Gunjan. I saw you smiling while, all the other panelists were talking, because it seems like you've had similarities in your journey. So Elvina, asking you are probably, out of everyone here, are still into a slightly more, of course, PR and communications, but also, overlapping with marketing. So tell me, was there anything different in your preparation to enter this field over here?
Before coming to Canada, I used to work in a very big public relations company. So I thought that I'm pretty safe, because I used to manage international global campaigns, public relations and marketing industry. I did some research. I went to website like Indeed. I was trying to analyze different job postings. I see a lot of resonate with my experience. I was pretty sure that I can find something very quickly. But unfortunately, I didn't do any research and didn't understand the value of community and association and how it's important to be part of the community. For example, I joined like a year only after coming to Canada. I joined the Toronto chapter of the American Marketing Association. It's a great, very welcoming community for marketing and communications professional. So before coming to Canada, I would recommend really do research and find communities what can really support you here in Canada. That's the big thing here. So the difference I noticed, like when I moved here, I started analyzing, like I upgraded my resume. I started analyzing job postings, and I noticed the big difference actually, because here are like very big demand for people with digital marketing skills, even like for communication positions. So as I understood, like while living here, you really need to be a strong generalist and have not only good communication skills and experience, but also at least some high level understanding of digital marketing. And that also I would recommend if you like plan to move to Canada, just do some research, take some courses in order to get prepared, as much as possible.
And Gunjan, of course, the same question to you, but also to kind of, talk a little bit about your experience earlier and some of the similarities or differences that you saw in when you actually started applying for roles in Canada.
Sure. Thank you, Shruti, and thank you to all of the panelists. So like Prashant, I also thought I'll take a little break from after moving from my previous country to integrating into Canada. I was on a sabbatical, taking a year off to travel, and then COVID hit. So I did not have any idea what to expect, because my mind was still in that holiday or gap year mode, and I could not reconcile with my realities as to, like, I thought I'll look for a job a year later, but lo and behold, I have to do it right now, and at a time when no one knows what to expect. So even organizations were a bit hesitant in extending offers, and frankly, there were so many more qualified candidates who had local experience, right? So they obviously would get priority over me. So having said that, I learned the hard way, and frankly, I did not do as much research as most colleagues did. In fact, like Elvina, I thought, okay, I worked for global brands, and I think I should be okay, not that bad. But when I came here, I realized, first thing I realized is that the kind of resume/CV that we did in my previous country did not really work in Canada. You're matching your resume. You may be saying the same things, but it is important to say it in the same words. That was something that I learned the hard way. I also learned the power of networking and community, like really, to summarize it, I learned that instead of thinking of how can I find a job, the question really is how can I be in places where people who are looking for communication professionals find me, so how can hiring managers find me as opposed to how can I find a job? So that was a big shift that I learned in my job search experience. And I think my recommendation to most newcomers and those looking to pursue careers in communication is really find where are all these potential hiring managers, where do they hang out, where can you find them? Through industry events, through volunteering, through community groups. And that's where, you start your process forward.
Yeah. It's so wonderful that, all of you have been able to kind of touch upon such personal things about your journeys. And so far, I'm sure that the audience with us today has understood your background, your experiences so far. Now I want to get deeper into the nature of this industry, PR and communications, marketing, the crossover of it all. What is the skill set that is required? And what is it that one needs to know if they want to probably, enter this field here, advance their career, or probably if they haven't had experience in this field altogether, what are the transferable skills that they can bring with them? So one by one, we'll kind of get to that. Tosin, I want to ask you if you could kind of name 3 most important skills according to you that are required in the sector.
Yeah, definitely. So when I think of PR and marketing, I always say something, both are similar fields, but PR is more focused on protecting the reputation, uplifting the company's public image. Marketing is more of, promoting products and services that the organization offers through relevant advertising strategies and supporting sales teams. So with that example, when I think of 3 main intersectional skill sets that you need when you're coming into PR and communications or marketing and communications, I'm thinking about having top-notch writing and communication skills, the ability to write various content. So whether it's press releases, putting together blog content, writing short stories, writing speeches. The second skill set that I will highlight would be having strong social media and web management skills. The world is ever evolving, and technology rather is evolving every day. So and social media is, of course, what's in the game right now. So the ability to tell stories on various platforms is extremely important. I'll say the third skill set for me is, and people might say, well, I mean, how does this interrelate to PR and communications? Well, as somebody who has worked in the PR and communications field for several years now, I would say that having a great sensible time management skills is extremely handy. And the reason why I say so is because with communications is extremely fast paced. New things are always coming up. So the ability to manage your time and be extremely technical is also crucial. So those would be my three relevant skills to bring to the table.
Wonderful. Prashant, a question for you would be, what is the one main difference that you would say, or similarity that you would want to highlight? Because you said you were in a similar field, but in a different country. So in being in the public sector related to skilled trades, what is the one similarity and one difference, or between the two countries that you probably saw in the sector?
Okay, the similarity is like everybody is looking for people who work in skilled trades. There's a huge gap, and like even in India, everyone was trying to fill that gap. And even in Canada, we are trying to fill that gap because these jobs are not considered like good, or say everyone, like even here in Canada, I've seen like parents, they say they teach their children, they say that be an engineer or a doctor, don't get into trades. But if you have seen the trend, like trades people make a lot of money. So now I have made a lot of friends who are working in trades. Because I love motor vehicles also. I participate in races. So one of my friend, he owns a Porsche GT3. And if anyone searches that, so that's the top of the line Porsche car. And he's a plumber. And he's been in Canada only for 5 years. And he owns a Porsche and a BMW. So this shows that like trades are good. And even
but in PR, if I were to ask you in your specific sector of PR and communications, what would you say is a difference that you have probably, so other individuals with your background moving from, say, India or any other similar country, with the experience that you probably brought with you, what is it that is different for them to know while entering the PR and communication sector here?
So for that, I would say there is not much difference. So the PR and communications work similarly to what it used to work in my country. The only thing is that you have to have good connections, and you have to have a good hold on the digital market, as Tosin said, because right now digital is the new thing. And if you know how to use digital into your favor, then you can do anything. You can do anything. And I would also like to add, like, you need to do a lot of networking. And to be like, if you want to be a good communication and PR professional, you have to be good in networking. So if you can do that, then yes, you can do anything. And one more thing, like if you can think in English, so that's the best thing. Start thinking like an Englishman, and yeah, then there will be nothing that can worry you about anything.
And that kind of highlights the point of, how people with these experiences, professional experience and those skills, when they move to a country, there's probably not so much different in PR and communications world in any nation that we talk about. But it's just the nature of that, or how, people treat and engage in that profession over here. You mentioned networking. Gunjan, I'll ask you briefly if you could talk about how networking plays. And of course, because as all of your PR and communications professionals, so communication has to be great. And that is one of the key factors in networking. So what is your tip, or how would you kind of describe the role of networking in your initial stage, or in probably starting your career here?
Thank you, Shruti. So I would say that as job seekers, we should think of ourselves as brands, like brands need a shelf in a store for it to be seen. Well, not anymore, but historically there was a shelf where there was a product placed, and the more people saw the product, the more people bought it, right? And that applies to us as job seekers also. We have to think of ourselves as brand and be present and visible in as many places as we can. So whether that's and by networking, not just like talking to people one-on-one, but also by volunteering, by participating in industry events, by raising your voice or finding a seat at the table where important issues are discussed, right? So for people to be able to think of you when they have a job, they must know that you exist and you are here and that you're providing some sort of a service, right? So that is what I would think. I would recommend to shift that focus as not someone who's looking for a job, but someone who's solving a problem for an employer. And what is that problem that you're solving? And create a pitch for yourself. So for example, Nike, just do it. It just makes you do things, do exceptional things. So what is it that you do and you offer? And every time you meet people, speak to those values in different forms and shapes. And that's where you will be able to create not just network with people, but also create a lasting impression for them to think of you when they think of jobs.
Yeah. Anjali, coming to you, you mentioned transferable skills. You mentioned that you had some experience in PR and communications earlier, but prior to that, you also were in the field of journalism. So would you be able to highlight, what those transferable skills are required, or if someone who has worked in media, what are the opportunities, or how can one kind of prepare to move to PR and communications, a larger PR and communications oriented role? With prior media experience?
So one transferable skill that a media person would have is generally, what makes a good headline, what makes a good pitch. So even though I haven't worked in journalism for now 6 years, I still receive pitches. So it just shows how much research these PR professionals are doing to send pitches to someone who is no longer associated with a certain company. So have your contacts updated, and it's not only having the contacts, it's about maintaining a relationship, whether it is with fellow PR and professionals or whether it is with journalists. It is very easy to approach them saying, hey, I want to pick your brain. You have that one phone call and that is it. No, you have to maintain the relationship. You have to be on top of their mind. So connecting with them and maintaining that relationship is the difficult part. And I had about easily around 400 informational interviews in the first year that I came to Canada with my toddler and my infant. And I could do it because it was all remote. Because of COVID, no one was meeting in person. And it is not only the quantity, it is also the quality. Yes, some of them blew because I didn't do my research well, I didn't do my homework well. But yes, speaking the language that corporate America talks is very important. This is something that I learned through networking. It was definitely a boost to my confidence. It taught me how to talk to people I didn't know before. And being a journalist also, I'm very outgoing. That's a part of my personality. And like even approaching strangers saying that, hey, I saw your profile on LinkedIn. I like your career journey. Want to get to know more about you professionally. And to my surprise, people have agreed. And another important part is about knowing the media landscape here in Canada. I have worked in India. I've worked in the UK. The media market is very sophisticated there. It is very big there. Here in Canada, there are 5 major companies that own and control everything. So if you want your brand to come on the media, to get media coverage, you are really fighting tooth and nail to get that small slice of the pie. So you have to really put yourself out there. If you're going to be an introvert and shy, you have to develop thick skin. At the most, you'll get rejected. Be okay with rejection. Take it as a stepping stone to your next success.
Wonderful tips there, definitely. Yeah. And Elvina, and a lot of your panelists here, also co-panelists, shared that some of you mentioned bridging programs or probably networking, mentoring. You also mentioned that you're part of AMA in this case. So what would you want to highlight in this scenario, that if you've been part of organizations or volunteered or, to be part of associations as such, how does that help someone with prior experience in a field to be able to kind of launch their career here?
Yeah, sure thing. I think
talk about the importance of it.
Yeah, joining an association like the Toronto chapter of the American Marketing Association, it's a great, opportunity. It was a great opportunity and still for me, because not all people are very comfortable to reaching out people directly for social media. But when you're part of the organization, you can do that. This networking very organically. So then I joined the association. I was really helping them a lot with media pitching, content creation, so I can I could really keep practicing my skills. And at the same time, I got an opportunity to develop new relationships because, for example, members of this association is really top industry professionals in Canada. So, and like, I think it's very important to plant seeds. It's very important not to expect their immediate results. So you really need to build relationships. You really need to build trust and showcase how you can work. And after a year, like being part of this association, I noticed that one of my colleagues from the board of this association, she knows the person what I really would like to meet. And I noticed opening position at my dream company. So at that time, I decided to ask a referral, and I got really definite yes, because she already had seen what I could do. And she made an introduction. Then finally I landed my current job, the one what I really have been applying like over a year. I can say I sent like 7 or 8, applied for 7 or 8 positions on only after this referral, and really it started working. So yeah, I think it's important not only send out resumes, but really start organically being part of a community that really can support you.
And to something that all of you actually in one way or another said, as PR and communication professionals, you have to showcase your brand value. You have to showcase what you stand for. And even as you're searching for a job, even as you're looking to expand your network, you're exhibiting those skills that you would be using in the workplace later. So you're at it from the word go, and that is where probably that's your moment to shine. So every effort you make towards your job search is your moment to shine and can lead you to more and more opportunities. At this point, let's take some questions. I have a question that I'll probably direct to Tosin. This is about, do you think English language skills should be the top requirement for people to work in the communication and PR industry in Canada? Have you worked, because I get it that a lot of us here, or probably others as well, may not have come with English as the first language. So what is the importance? And with that, I'd add, if English is not the first language of someone, what is a tip that would help them?
That's a very good question. So I want to first say that because even when I moved to Canada, I actually struggled a bit because there were times where a few people would say, oh, your accent. And that sort of, made me doubt myself. Oh my God, do I need, can I actually apply to become a PR specialist one day, or even a communications professional? But a quote that has always stayed with me by Jesse Jackson is that if you fall behind, run faster, never give up, never surrender, rise up against the odds. And so why I am actually emphasizing that is that even if you don't have the proper, I must say, English skills, it doesn't mean that you can actually decide, and you can settle with the fact that, okay, you know what, maybe this is something that I can learn. But I would also say that the market is also expanding. So I've tried as much as possible I've encountered organizations that are looking for French skills or French language skills, but with the English skill set, because that is a major language. It is an official language in Canada. So I would say that to be responsive to that, there are key networks, there are key organizations, ESL learning programs that can actually support you in that process. So don't feel that your language is a hurdle, or it's a negative thing, or it's a bad thing. I know that sometimes when you move to a new country, you have to adjust to the culture. And sometimes you might feel doubtful, you might feel discouraged or despondent, but don't feel that way. There are workshops, there are key sources or key organizations or mentorship organizations that can support you in that process that you can look at.
I would also like to add to what Tosin said as far as language is concerned, that yes, of course, Canada is an English speaking language. So some working ability to speak and work in English is required. But also what I have seen is that a lot of governmental organizations like your local city office, etc., depending on the demographic mix, do communicate in those languages, or at least translate their communication material. So you may have an opportunity to do some translation work, or work with very specific organizations that cater to a demographic that speaks that language. So it's not that your first language may not be totally usable. It could be usable with, of course, some support in English as well.
And one of the questions, and Tosin, you also mentioned that, is to be part of like networking associations or marketing associations, communications related. This is a question I'll open up to everyone, whoever would like to take it first. Could you, and this is a question that has come from one of the attendees as well, if you all could maybe name some networking events or associations, may or may not be in your region in Canada. If they're national, even better. Would you have some recommendations for those people joining us here?
Yeah, I can go. I would say that IABC was one organization that I actually volunteered with them, and they have great educational and training programs for immigrants or newcomers, or people even transitioning into communications or PR or marketing. So IABC is the International Association of Business Communicators. So that would be one organization that you can definitely look at. Another would be the TRIAC Mentorship Program. So TRIAC, I mean, of course, I worked with them. They're a great resource for connecting mentees and mentors. So they will help you with that transitional process as well as a newcomer looking to enter into the communications field as well.
Yeah. And you mentioned TRIAC, but TRIAC is something that is there in Toronto, and there are various other chapters of the same organization, just suited to different regions that probably you could search for.
Go on, Gunjan.
No, it's all right. I had a chance.
So for me, I joined the IABC and CPRS, which is the Canadian Public Relations Society. But as I mentioned that for me, I had 2 young children, and then there was COVID. For me, the networking events and the meeting in person could not happen, because where am I going to send my kids while, if I wanted to network? So what I did was I went on LinkedIn. I looked for people in whose positions I want to be in now, in whose positions I want to be in 5 years, and in whose positions I want to be in ultimately. And I send them a message telling them that I'm just moved to Canada. I'm looking to get into this field, and this is what I want to know. I may have written to like 1,000 people. Out of them, about 500 or 600 of them replied, and that's how I scheduled my calls. So instead of going to a networking event where everybody wants to meet everybody, here I could talk to people and build a one-on-one relationship. So that's how I went about my networking. I found people that I wanted to talk to. And even though I have my job and I'm happy in my job, the networking never stops. Even, where I used to do maybe 2 and 3 calls in a day, I'm doing 2 calls in a week now. One is where I am the interviewer, and I'm also paying it forward. I am also being an interviewee, where I get approached from newcomers from all over the world saying that, hey, do you have some time to talk? And I do it because, someone has helped me. It is only fair to pay it forward.
Yeah. So associations, events, LinkedIn, and as we're, of course, as things are opening up more and the pandemic seems to be getting, we seem to be in a better situation, there are some in-person events also happening. So Gunjan, did you want to probably add like an event or an association that one could?
I wanted to say also that don't overlook your own existing communities. Like, for example, if you went to a particular school, there may be a number of people from your school or your previous organizations that you've worked that already are here, and there is some sort of an association or like formal or informal group or gathering there. So you can join that. And then, for example, I am quite interested in technology and technology communication. So I try to follow organizations which focus on tech events like Tech Toe in Toronto or Vancouver Tech Journal in Canada, in BC. So so it's not just focused on communication, it's focused on the broader sector or, or your educational institutions that you were part of in the past.
I can add.
Sorry, please go ahead, Elvina.
If we have like people who are applying to move to Ontario and Toronto, American Marketing Association have like every month we have networking event, and they're usually very small, so you'll get a chance really to talk to everyone. And we usually have really great like industry professionals. So feel free to register.
And these were just, a couple of organizations and associations that you've all mentioned. For those who want to explore more, New Canadians, New Canadians TV Network, our website and our other platforms also have a lot of resources related to where you can actually get help with mentoring, networking, volunteering, whether it's PR and communications that you're interested in or others. Wise. Let's take a couple more questions, and I'll probably ask you to keep those answers brief so that we can cover a lot more. What does a typical workday look like, or what's the focus of your role? Prashant, would you want to probably take this? If you could tell us briefly, what is it that your core role would be at your current organization?
So as a communications professional, the first thing that I do in the morning is I check all my social media platforms. I check if somebody has asked any questions. So I try to give them good answers. If somebody is trolling us, then I try to avoid it, and I try to get something which can avoid others to also to see that trolling. After that, I have a set list of things that I have to do. Then I usually talk with my colleagues, and I check what they are doing in their particular sector, what they are trying to do and what they are trying to achieve, and then I accordingly try and make some communication plan to promote that or to market that. And and after that, I try and reach out to various organizations, various communities, associations, and try to build a network so that we can promote our organization. So I won't promote my skill traits now, because I know I'm so much into my job that whenever somebody's talking something, I bring skills and I talk about skills. So I'll just stop here. So best thing is network. Yeah, that's it.
Anjali, I'll probably ask you to take this one. There's a question from Safa about, is it better to be a communications generalist or an expert? There are certain job sites that would have roles which say that you need to have a skill set which has everything, and then probably also a niche. How do you balance that, or what are some of the things that you'd want to highlight here?
Personally, I would say that you should be a unicorn, but don't portray yourself as a unicorn. The simple reason is that when I first came to Canada, I put myself into many buckets, like social media, digital marketing, public relations, corporate communications, journalism, everything. And when I was approaching people for jobs, when I was approaching people for networking, and they told me one simple thing: you have mentioned that you can do 5 things, you want to do 5 things, we don't know where to put you. So that's when I realized that I should pick 1 or 2 things that I really want to do, and I should focus all my energy on that, rather than just cast my net in the sea, rather than waiting for a fish to come. I should have my bait and pick a fish that I want. So I would suggest be focused and know what you want, know your strengths, know your weaknesses. Self-awareness is very important, because at the end of the day, if a company is interviewing you, you are also interviewing them. As much as they want you to work, you also want to make sure that you are a good fit with that organization, because job searching is just like dating. It has to work both ways. Yeah. So if you want, if there's something that you want to learn, by volunteering you can do it. And though I say volunteering is good, everyone can't afford to volunteer, because I know I've been in that position. Where am I going to keep 2 kids in daycare when it's so expensive? So I could not afford to volunteer. And even professional organizations, the fees can be very high and it can put you off, but consider it as an investment into your profession, because it may seem like a expensive thing now, but it is a short-term hit for a long-term gain. And always look ahead.
No, a very good point there. And something that I'd like to add is a lot of people probably will also be pursuing courses or are a student of a certain program at some point. And if you are a student, it's also advisable to look into the fee at that point, because a lot of organizations, associations offer a discounted rate to students. And maybe that's a good time for you to enter an association and then continue your membership there.
Yes, I agree with that, because I joined the IABC and the CPRS with my student membership, and that is through my bridging program.
Yeah. Elvina, maybe not 5 as somebody has asked us over here, but what are your 2 tips? And because also you have a marketing kind of experience here, what are the 2 tips that you would like to share for resumes to be able to land in the right hands when someone is applying for a communications role? There's so much that we try to pack into one resume, and especially all of you probably work with brands, with different agencies. How can one kind of shine in that space?
I think it's very important really to be focused, and it's not, I mean, as Anjali mentioned, you cannot be like everything. Try to choose your niche. So for example, before coming to Canada, I have a lot of experience like managing campaigns in sustainability industry. I decided that Canada is a great place and doing great job like in renewable industry and ESG, and I love this industry, why not? So I'm trying to combine my niche expertise and communication and trying to create resume what really resonates with specific industry. The first and the second, it's very important to showcase your results. If you have any numbers like figures, facts, great achievements, don't be shy. Try to share in your resume as much as, some really real world results what you achieved. And also be mindful that sometimes you really need to use some keywords, because a lot of companies will screen your resume and making sure that you're using the same wording that Canadian employers are using, because if you come from different countries, some things can be named completely different. So do your research and making sure that your resume resonates with the job posting.
Yeah. And titles also change from country to country. So your role may be exactly what you probably did there, but it is worth researching to know what that title is actually called over here. Gunjan, for you, I'm actually combining two questions here to talk a little bit about, again, parts of what we discussed earlier, that there are general kind of roles and specialized roles. How can probably networking and volunteering or having worked on different projects help in being able to showcase the ability to apply for jobs?
Yeah. So, I would like to reaffirm what Anjali and Elvina have said in the past, that while you may have plenty skills, you have to always customize to your audience. So for example, if you go to a restaurant and say, I'm ready to eat anything, obviously the server will be confused. What should they get you? Likewise, we have to support our network and our connections in helping us find what we are looking for. So therefore, while communication is a broad spectrum, it has internal, external, media relations, stakeholder engagement, change management, you name it, and it's there. But you need to identify what's your focus, what you're good at, where do you have transferable skills, and really focus everybody's attention to that aspect of your skill set and help them help you. So that's what I would say. And it all boils down back to what's your pitch, what's your positioning, and what problem are you solving for that employer?
Yeah. Tosin, I have a question for you, but a quick reminder for the attendees as well. I'm monitoring the Q&A tab here on Zoom. So if one of your questions that you probably posted in the chat, if that has been unanswered so far, could you please put it back in the Q&A tab? Tosin, so I know that you have a little bit of freelance experience and work that you're doing. I also want to kind of talk about that, which is maybe people with backgrounds in PR and communications are applying for roles at companies, or they're actually starting a business and have services that they offer and want to be working with different agencies and companies at the same time. Could you probably share the pros and cons and any tips you have briefly again with the audience?
Definitely. Yeah, I want to echo what Gunjan said. She mentioned something very important about customizing your resume to fit the job position that you're applying to. But at the same time, and of course, that's a very great point, but to also add to that, the beautiful thing about communications is that it is richly diverse. So no experience is irrelevant. No experience can ever be wasted. You can actually put that into freelance. So in my earlier career, I had actually transitioned. I worked as a policy analyst and researcher and transitioned into the PR industry. So I had a lot of experience with writing communications materials, contributing to annual reports, social media storytelling. So all of that. And at some point in my life, I told myself, I was like, okay, you know what? So I've been doing freelance, I'll put it that way, for 5 years now. I really wanted to follow in that path. And so the beautiful thing about PR, or the pros of working in PR, in freelance, is that you are an independent contractor. It is extremely greatly flexible, and you can work with different agencies. You can learn new things. You can learn new skills. I'll give an example. Aside from working in PR, aside from working in marketing or social media storytelling, I've gained new skills in videography, in photography, in writing PSAs, or putting together motivational or inspirational videos. So the point that I'm making is that there is an opportunity to gain a new skill set that can transform your resume even more. Another pro or advantage of working in the freelance industry is that because you are an independent contractor, you can you have the opportunity to really ride the control the boat. I'll put it that way. You have the opportunity to really own your skill set. But aside from that, you also have the opportunity to be the lead and to bring in your leadership skills. Because who knows, one day you might decide to, manage your own business. You can decide to, start your own business, even establish your own startup. The cons, I would say that it's really difficult for me, or challenging, or difficult for me to really list out the cons of freelance. But I would say that one of the cons, though, is possibly not getting benefits, because when you find yourself in a permanent full-time role, of course you can get employment benefits and all of that great stuff. But with freelance, you might not possibly get that get those benefits. So that's one challenging aspect that I can possibly point out. But to conclude, I would say that working in a freelance career, or having a career in freelance really, really opens the door for you, because you're networking with people, you're networking with seasoned mentors, you're networking with seasoned professionals, and that really enlightens you a great deal.
Yeah, thanks for that. You mentioned mentorship, and that is exactly what I wanted to come to next. We have a couple more minutes left. Has anybody else over here probably had a mentor who would like to maybe share one quick tip for being able to find a mentor within your field?
I can go with that. So among all my networking efforts that I had, there were a few of them, I would say about 4 to 5, who I felt could be like a cheerleader for me. And they always had my interests in mind. And it is not a formal mentorship agreement where I tell them, hey, you are my mentor, I'm your mentee. It is as easy as, hey, I got this question. What do you think I should do? Hey, this one approached me for this. Do you think it's a good move? It is like, it is, the relationship has become so close and so informal that even if I have a quick question with them, I can ask them that question. And I'll give you an example. When I was interviewing for the role that I am in now, for me, I wanted a full-time permanent role because I wanted to buy a house. So I wanted that mortgage. Otherwise, before that, even I was freelancing for the PR agency. So when I was interviewing for all these roles, I was interviewing for 8 companies at the same time, and I landed 3 offers. And even when it came to making that choice, I knew which one I wanted, which aligned with my long-term career goals. And I asked one of my mentors, hey, I have these 3 offers on the table. This is what I'm thinking of taking. What do you think? So my mentors, it's not only about starting your career, but it's about maintaining that relationship and even helping you grow and motivate. And it may sound like a one-sided thing, but many a times my mentors have told me, hey, I was approached by this newcomer. Do you mind having a chat with them? Maybe they'll get inspired. So it's about being there for each other.
I also want to, before we close, I also want to touch upon certifications. So I'm sure that there are various for bridging programs, there is one media and communications as well. And there are other short-term courses which are offered by various other organizations or, continuing schools. What are some of the key certifications, or is there something in your opinion that is a must for anyone with this background, PR and communications, to do over here, which will give them an edge over others who probably don't have that? Gunjan, Elvina, either of you would like to take this?
Yeah, well, I have an unpopular opinion on this. I think that these certification programs, and this is purely my experience, and I'm not speaking for everybody, but I'm saying that these certification programs are just one of the ways to kind of showcase your readiness for Canada, or that you're part of a known organization, and that job finding is a function of many variable factors, right? I would say that I did one certification course, and it did not help me in my career at all, and costed me a decent amount of money. However, I would say that if you are really investing into a certification, invest into a skill set that you really want to enhance or learn, and don't do a certification for just to say that I have a diploma from a university in Canada, because you will find eventually that these things are a good starting point to maybe initiate a conversation. But if there are two candidates with more or less similar credentials, the certification is not really going to move the needle. At least that's what my experience has been. But I know that others have done it far more successfully than I have. So I would say weigh your options before throwing away all your hard-earned savings into a certification program.
I can add that. I mean, in my experience, I usually prefer, if I notice any like knowledge gaps, I just prefer to go to Coursera or any other very affordable. It took very affordable classes to fill these gaps. But if you really would like to advance in your career and improve your resume, you can definitely go to an association and buy a very like advanced course and improve your knowledge significantly. So I think it's very important really is to stay focused and understand why do you need a specific certificate. It's not like a silver bullet, but you will be hired, but it's really to understand why do you need it. For example, we have a really great course like being part of Region program.
Yeah.
We had a really great course like workplace communication, and really help a lot like develop soft skills. It's very crucial here in Canada to have very great soft skills. So just try to address your gaps, and yeah, I think it can work for you.
Let's
I was going to add.
sorry.
Tosin and then Prashant very quickly.
Okay. Just to add to that, I would say it doesn't hurt to play with the idea really of advancing or developing your hard skills and soft skills. But mostly when you're looking to advance in your career or learn something new, right? Or gain those meaningful skills, it is important that you go for something that will give you experiential learning. And what I mean by that is if you're getting a certification, do they have an internship? Do they have networking events that you will engage, that would be engaging, that would be meaningful or useful for you? So those are things that you also need to think about. And I remember even at Niagara College, we were given the opportunity of attending workshops. I was able to network with experienced professionals in the industry. One of them ended up becoming a mentor to me. So you want to think about those important details.
Thank you. Prashant, coming to you.
Yes. So I would say that certification, it might help, because like at times when people ask, do you have Canadian experience? So if you don't have any Canadian experience, you can have a certification from any of the college or the university. It will definitely help. So try to get into a continuing studies program or a certification program, because it is like, it's cheaper and it gives you the what you want, like the experience. And at the same time, like as everyone mentioned, like focus on one goal, like don't become like jack of all trades and master of none. Try to become a master of one. And to do so, what you can do is you can get into LinkedIn, like you get the LinkedIn Premium, and you can get a hold of the courses that are there on LinkedIn, because those are from people who are already in those particular field, and they tell you with their own experience. So those courses are good. And the best friend for anyone today is Google. Just search on Google what you want and you'll get that. And if you're really interested, like if you are 100% someone who will give into it, then these are your best friends, because you know that this is hard time and you have to like learn something. So you'll definitely learn, right? It's not like you're in 12th grade and okay, I don't want to study, I don't want to do it. You have to do it, right? This is the time. So yeah, these are your best friends.
To your list of best friends, I would also want to add Café New Canadians,
yes.
That you could be here with us for more sessions, and we will be diving into a lot more topics that will help you in your journey. With this, sadly, we've come to the end of this session. I'll probably give you a chance to just, if there is a quick 10-second answer that you have as a closing statement, one by one. Gunjan, anything you have. I hope we've answered all questions that people had. We've covered most areas of, what you can do before and after you're here and how you can kind of get into the profession. Any last tip that you have for newcomers in this profession?
Yes, I would say that most of you are coming with solid skills and solid education and experience. Have confidence in yourself and just learn how to pitch yourself. That will take you a lot further in your job discovery.
Elvina.
I can say, but definitely don't give up. It can be really challenging, but really be confident in your skills. The second, I would recommend everyone know your rights. You're in Canada, you have a lot of rights here. So you'll face discrimination. But really know how to protect yourself.
Thank you for that. That is important to know for sure. Anjali.
I would say immigration is very difficult. So be kind to yourself, protect your mental health, and don't get disheartened if things don't happen the way you expected it to happen.
Yeah. These are words from people who have been through that journey and are sharing their experiences. So I'm sure that this helps everyone. Tosin, your last word here.
All right. Okay. So one thing that I'll definitely articulate is stay positive, be resilient, ignore the pessimist, please, because Elvina just talked about racism and discrimination. Okay. But ignore the pessimist and keep an optimistic outlook. And most importantly, even if you don't land a job, it has worked several times for me. Engage in cold calling employers. Ask them, get in front of the top questions. Why didn't I get the role? How can I get the role next time? So never give up.
Perfect. Prashant, last
Yes.
for you.
Like everything what everyone else said, all of the above, and I would add like ask questions. There is no stupid question. Ask questions because you are new, so you have questions and don't afraid of asking them. Ask everyone, especially Gerard and Shruti. So they'll be the best ones to answer you guys because they have been talking to so many variety of candidates who are in different professionals. So ask questions, don't afraid.
Thank you. When Prashant mentioned Gerard, that's Gerard Kilijan, the founder of New Canadians. And I just wanted to clear that out here. And with that, thank you so much to all of you. All 5 of you have been so wonderful in sharing experiences and giving such amazing tips. I hope this has helped the audience a lot. And with this is the end of today's session, which was all about speaking with PR and communications professionals, learning about their journeys. Thanks to the panelists, thanks to the attendees. Let me just tell you, Café New Canadians is brought to you by New Canadians TV network. We have a TV show that airs on Omni TV. We have a website that you could access for lots of resources and information, a YouTube channel where we live stream this session, as well as there are lots more resources. So of course, stay connected with us on social media, and you could subscribe to our newsletter as well. It's a monthly newsletter to stay updated about upcoming sessions, as well as be able to access all of the various themes and resources that some of our panelists mentioned today. Thank you so much to everyone joining us. Have a wonderful night. Thank you.